Welcome to the Deep Dive. So, if you've ever looked at a map of Southeast Asia, maybe thinking history or beach, ancient ruins or tropical paradise, well, this deep dive is definitely for you.
Yeah.
We are focusing firmly on Cambodia today. It's a country that, well, it's hard to just pin down, isn't it? You've got this incredibly moving history, a really complex culture, and honestly, just really warm, welcoming people.
It really is an incredible mix. You have these absolutely massive temples, built 1,000 years ago.
Right.
And then just a few hours away, you find these amazing, pristine beaches down south, like something off a screensaver.
Exactly.
And look, we've built this whole analysis based on real experiences, real traveler knowledge. We're drawing heavily from World Wild Hearts, Justin Bainbridge's practical tips, and the great travel stories from Jordan and Emily.
Yeah, so this isn't just abstract stuff. Our goal here is really to cut through all the noise online and give you, a shortcut.
Right.
The best way to plan an informed trip, something adventurous, but also, culturally rich. We're aiming to cover pretty much everything. We're talking money, how that works there, how to cross the border, super smoothly.
Right.
Someone actually called it a VIP push-through.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
Where to find those, magical jungle temples everyone talks about. And the really crucial practical tips you need, before you even think about booking.
So yeah, if you've been kind of thinking about Cambodia but felt maybe a bit overwhelmed by the planning, consider this your essential guide.
Correct.
We probably need to start with the basics, though, the kind of foundational logistics. Getting that right makes everything else, much smoother.
Okay, let's unpack it then. Let's kick off with the weather.
Yeah.
And money. Apparently you need perfect dollar bills. That sounds interesting.
Right, starting with climate, Cambodia is smack bang in the tropics. So, rule number 1. It's hot. Pretty much relentlessly hot all year round.
Okay.
Trying to plan your visit without understanding the seasons, it's a rookie mistake.
So there are two main seasons we need to know about. Ones that really change the experience.
Exactly. First, you've got the wet season. That generally runs from about May through to September. Think high humidity and often these intense, but usually quite short afternoon downpours.
Right, like tropical rain. Heavy but quick.
Yeah, precisely. Then you have the dry season, which is October to April. But, and this is important, within that dry period, travelers pointed out a key difference.
Oh.
The general feeling is that the cool, dry bit, which is sort of November to February, is probably the absolute best time. The humidity drops right down then.
Which makes wandering around those huge temples much easier, I imagine.
Definitely less sweaty, yeah. Makes it more manageable.
But I did see a really interesting point in the sources. Someone mentioned October, just as the wet season is finishing, being maybe a hidden gem, a sweet spot.
That's a great point. October gives you the benefit of all that rain. Everything's incredibly lush and green.
Ah, okay.
But the main tourist crowds haven't quite arrived yet for peak season. The rain starts to ease off, the air clears up a bit, and you can often get into places like Angkor Wat when it's, quieter.
So if you prefer fewer people over guaranteed sunshine, October might be worth looking at.
It could be a really good balance, yeah, if you value that bit of tranquility.
Okay, let's talk money. This sounds like a crucial detail and maybe a bit weird. Cambodia uses two currencies.
Yeah, here's where it gets really interesting, like you said. It's a dual currency system. Most people assume the local currency, the riel, is used for everything.
Right.
But actually, the US dollar is super widely accepted. In fact, it's often preferred for anything more than a few bucks.
So why is that? Is it historical?
It's a fascinating legacy, yeah, from Cambodia's history after the conflict years. Basically, the US dollar is the go-to currency for bigger things: hotels, tours, meals in proper restaurants, long bus journeys.
Okay.
But the Cambodian riel is still the official currency. And you absolutely need it for smaller, everyday stuff. Think street food, bits and pieces from local markets, short tuk-tuk rides.
Gotcha. So you need both. What's the golden rule then for handling this?
Keep the rough exchange rate in your head. It makes life easier. It's about 4,000 riel to $1 US.
Okay, 4,000 to 1. Easy enough.
What happens a lot is you'll pay for something in dollars, maybe like a $5 or $10 item, and you'll get your change back in riel, especially the small amounts.
Oh, okay. So you end up accumulating riel that way.
Exactly. And a key tip: try not to leave Cambodia with loads of riel. It's really hard to exchange outside the country. Spend it before you go, unless you're planning to come back soon.
Good tip. Now, this warning I saw repeated everywhere in the traveler notes. Seemed really specific. About the condition of US dollar bills. They have to be perfect. Like no tiny tears or marks. Is that actually true?
Yes. Absolutely true. And honestly, this is probably the most important piece of money advice travelers kept giving.
Wow.
Bills with even the smallest tears, little ink marks, sometimes even just heavy folds, they will get rejected by shops, hotels, even banks sometimes.
Why is that?
It seems to stem from a historical lack of trust in banking systems after the turmoil and maybe concerns about counterfeits. Basically, perfect-looking currency equals trust in the transaction.
So check your dollars really carefully before you even leave home.
Meticulously. It adds a bit of prep time, but it's crucial.
Okay, wow. That's a definite heads up. What about modern payments? Credit cards, are they
Yeah.
catching on?
They are, increasingly. Your bigger hotels, fancier restaurants, especially in Phnom Penh and Siem Reap, they'll likely take cards.
But not everywhere.
Definitely not. You absolutely have to assume that smaller places, markets, local food stalls, little guest houses will be cash only. So you still need that mix. Pristine dollars and a stash of real.
Right. Okay, moving on to actually getting in. Visas. How
Yeah.
easy is that for most people?
Generally pretty straightforward. For most nationalities, Cambodia has a visa on arrival system.
Okay.
You can get your tourist visa right when you land at the international airports, Phnom Penh or Siem Reap, or at the mainland border crossings. Costs around 35 to 40 US dollars usually.
Now, the land border thing. There was that anecdote from Jordan and Emily coming over land from Thailand. They mentioned a VIP push-through service. That sounds, well, almost too easy for crossing a border by land. What was that about?
It sounds fancy, right? But it's basically down to the efficiency of the bus company they use, the giant Ibis, which we'll talk more about later.
Okay.
What they do is they kind of use the waiting time effectively. Jordan and Emily said the bus crew collected everyone's passports and the visa fee, that $35, $40, before they even got to the actual border post.
So the travelers themselves didn't have to queue up or deal with the officials directly.
Exactly. The bus crew handled the whole process with the border guards. The passengers just stayed on the bus or waited nearby.
Yeah.
It made the whole crossing from Thailand apparently incredibly smooth and fast. They clocked it at just 40 minutes, which is frankly amazing for a Southeast Asian land border.
Yeah, it's really quick.
So yeah, if you're planning to cross by land, paying a bit extra for a service like Giant Ibis seems like a really smart move. Saves a lot of hassle.
Good to know. Okay, you're in the country. Connectivity, phones, data, crucial for maps and booking stuff. Any particular mobile provider recommended?
Yeah, the consensus seems strong on this one. Smart Mobile. Travelers said the coverage was fantastic pretty much everywhere they went.
Even outside the main cities.
Apparently so, yeah. Held up well moving between places and even down towards the coast. And given how much you rely on apps like Grab for getting around, good data is pretty essential.
Makes sense. And thinking about arriving maybe late at night in Phnom Penh, just needing a solid place to start. Any specific hotel recommendations for reliability?
Hotel Zing in Phnom Penh got a specific shout-out. People liked it for being comfortable and reliable, described it as kind of like a Premier Inn style.
Okay, so dependable, not fancy, but clean and gets the job done.
Exactly. Nothing too complex, just a guaranteed good, comfortable start, which can be really nice before you maybe head off to more rustic places later in the trip.
Right, practicality sorted. Let's talk about the actual journey. Planning a route in Cambodia, it seems like you need to understand the transport links, right? The source is sketched out a pretty standard loop.
Yeah, there's a well-trodden path that works really well, especially for a, say, 2 or 3 week trip. It hits the main highlights logically.
Okay, lay it out for us. Where does this typical adventure kick off?
It usually starts in the capital, Phnom Penh. That's where most international flights land anyway. And critically, it's where you need to engage with the country's more recent history first.
Right, the essential context. From Phnom Penh, where next?
The flow generally goes north up to Siem Reap. That's the base for, the legendary temples of Angkor.
The main event for many, I guess. And after Angkor, the itinerary suggested heading west a bit to Battambang. What's the draw there?
Battambang is often described as like a bit more chill, a charming city, slightly less hectic than Siem Reap maybe. It's known for some unique things like the bamboo train and the bat caves.
Okay, a different vibe.
Yeah, it offers a nice kind of breather between the intensity of the temples and the next big leg of the journey.
Now, here's the part that seemed a bit weird in the planning. To get down south to the coast and the islands, the route often involves going back to Phnom Penh first. Why double back like that?
It does seem counterintuitive, yeah, but it's really about the transport infrastructure. The main bus routes, the reliable ones, they tend to radiate out from the capital.
Ah, okay, so Phnom Penh is the main hub.
Pretty much. Getting long-distance transport, especially heading south, is just easier, more frequent, and more reliable if you transit back through Phnom Penh. The links are just better connected that way.
Gotcha. So back in the capital briefly, and then you head south.
Exactly. Then you head down towards Campo, that lovely riverside town we mentioned, and then finally you might head west again towards Sihanoukville.
And Sihanoukville is the jumping-off point
For the islands. Koh Rong and Koh Rong Samloem. That's the final piece. So that loop, Phnom Penh, Siem Reap, Battambang, back through Phnom Penh, then Campo, then the islands via Sihanoukville. It hits all the big things efficiently. History, ancient wonders, and that coastal escape.
Makes sense. Okay, how do people actually do these long hops between cities? What's the main transport?
Mostly buses, sometimes high-speed boats between certain places like Phnom Penh and Siem Reap, depending on the season and water levels.
And booking these, is it easy?
Yeah, pretty easy now thanks to online platforms. Cambo Ticket and 12Go Asia were mentioned a lot. They're like aggregators. They pull together schedules and let you book online, which really takes the guesswork out of it.
Okay, good. And what about getting around within the cities? Phnom Penh, Siem Reap? I'm guessing tuk-tuks are everywhere, but is it chaotic?
Tuk-tuks are definitely everywhere.
Yeah.
But thankfully, technology has made it much easier. Ride-hailing apps are key.
Like Uber or Lyft?
Exactly like that. Grab is the big one, and Pass app is another popular local one. You book your tuk-tuk or car through the app, you get a fixed price up front.
Ah, so no haggling needed every time.
Precisely. It removes that whole negotiation stress, which is great, and the prices are incredibly low.
Yeah, you mentioned that earlier. How cheap are we talking for, say, a tuk-tuk ride in Phnom Penh?
It's almost unbelievable. Like, often just around $1 US for a typical ride across the city center, maybe $2 for a longer trip. It makes getting around super affordable. You can just hop in one whenever you need to.
Wow, okay. That's amazing value. Now, a word of warning seems necessary about driving yourself, particularly scooters or motorbikes on the mainland. What did the sources say?
Yeah, this came up repeatedly. The roads, especially in Phnom Penh and Siem Reap, were described as, well, crazy, chaotic, dangerous were the words used.
Doesn't sound ideal for tourists.
Definitely not. Renting a scooter on the mainland is generally discouraged because the safety risk is just really high if you're not used to that kind of traffic. The density, the lack of lane discipline, it can be overwhelming.
But you mentioned exceptions, places where renting a bike is a good idea.
Yes, exactly. In specific areas where things are much quieter, it makes sense. Campo is the prime example.
Right, the riverside town.
Yeah, the traffic there is much slower, more relaxed, and the things you want to see, like the pepper farms, are a bit spread out. So renting a motorbike there for about $5 to $8 a day is actually really practical and recommended.
Okay. And the other place?
On the island of Koh Rong, again, traffic isn't really the issue there. It's more about navigating the basic roads they have. Renting a scooter for maybe $10 a day can be the easiest way to explore beyond the main beach area.
Got it. So, mainland cities, no, Kapoko wrong, yes. Yeah. Good rule of thumb. Before we leave transport, we have to touch on that giant ibis bus again. The descriptions made it sound almost luxurious for a bus trip.
It really stood out in the reports, yeah. Particularly that Bangkok to Siem Reap journey people mentioned. They highlighted the seating a 2-1 configuration, meaning one seat on one side of the aisle, two on the other. So everyone gets either a window or an aisle seat effectively, with extra width and legroom. Much nicer than a standard packed bus.
Okay, that sounds good for a long trip. What else? Any other perks?
Yeah, apparently the seats reclined quite far back. Proper tray tables, individual USB ports for charging your phone.
Oh, USB ports are crucial on a long journey.
Absolutely. And the service sounded great, too. They mentioned getting complimentary coffee and a croissant when they boarded.
Nice touch.
It just turns what could be a really tiring 9-hour slog into something, well, relatively comfortable and relaxed. The consensus was clear. Paying a bit extra for a premium carrier like Giant Ibis is often worth it, especially on those longer routes. Saves your energy for the destination.
Okay, let's dive into Phnom Penh itself, the capital. It's obviously a vibrant city markets, the palace, nightlife. But it seems like you can't really understand Cambodia without confronting its history here first.
That's absolutely right. Travelers were unanimous on this. Visiting Phnom Penh isn't just about seeing the sights, it's about understanding the soul of the country. And that involves engaging with its very painful recent past.
And there are two specific places that came up again and again as being, well, not optional, not just sightseeing, but essential visits. What are they?
They are the Chawang Ek Genocidal Center, better known as the Killing Fields, and the Tuol Sleng Genocide Museum, which was the S-21 security prison.
Right.
The sources stress this. Visiting these places is incredibly heavy. It's harrowing, but it's also necessary if you want to even begin to appreciate the resilience of the Cambodian people today.
Let's spend a moment here because it's so important. For listeners who might not know the full context, these sites are directly linked to the Khmer Rouge regime.
Yes, the regime led by Pol Pot that ruled Cambodia from 1975 to 1979. In just those 4 years, they tried to forcibly return the country to this mythical agrarian year zero.
Which involved, well, mass murder.
It involved the systematic execution of intellectuals, professionals, artists, anyone connected to the previous government, often even people who wore glasses or spoke a foreign language. It was brutal. Estimates are that up to 2 million people died, nearly a quarter of the entire population, from execution, starvation, or being worked to death.
Just devastating.
Yeah.
And the S-21 prison, Tuol Sleng, was central to that horror.
It was. It used to be a high school. The Khmer Rouge turned it into their main interrogation and torture center in Phnom Penh. Visiting today, you see the tiny cells, the interrogation rooms, the haunting photographs of thousands of victims that they meticulously documented.
Oh, wow.
Travelers strongly recommended getting the audio guide there. It provides crucial context, tells individual stories, and frankly helps you process the enormity of it with respect. It puts human faces to the statistics.
And the Killing Fields.
Yeah.
Cho'unk. That's where the final act took place for many from S-21.
Yes, Chawang was just one of many execution sites across the country, but it's the most well-known associated with S-21. Prisoners were trucked there, killed, and buried in mass graves.
What's the experience like for visitors now?
You walk the grounds, past the indentations where the mass graves were excavated. The audio guide is essential here, too, explaining the different areas. The focal point is the Memorial Stupa, a tall Buddhist monument filled floor to ceiling with thousands of skulls recovered from the site.
That must be incredibly confronting.
It is. Deeply sobering. Travelers said you need to allow plenty of time, maybe a full half day or more just for these two sites combined, and definitely plan for some quiet time afterwards to, well, decompress. It hits hard.
But it provides that essential context for understanding modern Cambodia, the resilience, the challenges, everything. Okay, moving beyond that necessary, heavy history.
Right.
What else does Phnom Penh offer culturally?
Well, on a completely different note, you have the Royal Palace. It's stunning, really ornate, classic Khmer architecture with glittering roofs. And next door is the Cambodian National Museum.
What's in the museum?
It houses a fantastic collection of Khmer art, especially sculptures from the Angkor period. Lots of beautiful pieces that were recovered from the temples.
And if people want something a bit less intense, maybe slightly off the main tourist track, but still easy to reach.
A really nice option mentioned was taking a trip over to Silk Island, Kodak. It's just a short ferry ride across the Mekong from the city.
What's it like there?
It's a lovely contrast. Much more rural, traditional villages, and as the name suggests, you can see silk weaving in action, often in workshops under the houses. A nice glimpse into local life.
Sounds peaceful. And then, of course, you have the markets, Central Market, the night markets. Always a big draw. But we need to mention that food safety point again here.
Yes, definitely worth reiterating. The markets are vibrant, visually amazing, great for souvenirs. But when it comes to eating there, especially street food involving meat, travelers urged caution.
Because of the risk of, well, getting sick.
Exactly. The risk of food poisoning seems higher in the markets than in established restaurants with proper refrigeration and handling. So maybe stick to packaged snacks or fruit you can peel yourself if you're being cautious. It's just not worth losing days of your trip to illness.
Fair point. Okay, evenings in Phnom Penh, where do people tend to go? Is there a specific nightlife area?
The Basak laneways came up repeatedly. It's this cool network of narrow alleys kind of hidden away, packed with little restaurants, bars, cafes.
Sounds trendy.
Yeah, one traveler even compared the vibe to the laneways in Melbourne, Australia. So quite hip and diverse, lots of good food options there.
And for a totally different evening vibe, there's the river cruise option.
Yeah, the sunset cruise on the Mekong and Tonle Sap rivers, apparently it's really good value. Like a 90-minute trip for around 15 Australian dollars for the basic package.
Nice way to see the city skyline light up.
Exactly. Peaceful, gives you a different perspective.
And let's not forget that amazing fact about the Tonle Sap River itself. It actually changes direction.
Isn't that incredible? It's a unique hydrological phenomenon. The Tonle Sap River connects the Mekong River to the huge Tonle Sap Lake. During the wet season, the Mekong swells so much that the water actually flows backwards up the Tonle Sap River, dramatically expanding the lake.
Wow. So the river flows into the lake.
So part of the year, yes. Then, in the dry season, the flow reverses, and the river drains the lake back towards the Mekong. This cycle is what makes the lake so massive and supports this huge ecosystem and all the fishing communities. It's pretty mind-blowing.
It really is. Okay, final Phnom Penh point. Food. We mentioned the dumpling house in Basak Lane, but what's the absolute must-try Cambodian dish?
You absolutely have to try fish amok. It's widely considered the national dish. It's a steamed fish curry, but it's not spicy like Thai curries often are. It's creamy, coconut-based, quite subtle and fragrant.
And I heard it has a royal connection.
That's the story, yeah. Apparently, it was traditionally served to Khmer royalty. The preparation is key.
How so?
It's traditionally steamed inside a cup made from banana leaves. This steaming method cooks the white river fish very gently, keeping it super tender, and it gives the coconut curry sauce this incredibly smooth, almost custard-like texture.
So it's the texture and delicacy that made it fit for kings.
Exactly. It feels quite refined. Finding a place that does authentic fish amok, properly steamed in the banana leaf, is definitely a foodie goal in Cambodia.
Okay, moving on from the capital and its heavy history, we head north to Siem Reap. This is the gateway, right? The base camp for exploring the absolutely massive Angkor Archaeological Park.
That's right. Siem Reap itself is a bustling town geared towards tourism. You've got the lively pub street area for nightlife. You can see traditional Apsara dance shows, visit the floating villages nearby.
But let's be honest, the main reason everyone goes to Siem Reap is Angkor Wat and the surrounding temples.
Absolutely. The Angkor Archaeological Park is just vast. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, the heart of the ancient Khmer Empire. And the scale? It's hard to comprehend.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier this complex, including Angkor Wat Temple itself, was the center of a city that might have had 1 million people living there back in the 12th, 13th centuries.
1 million people. Think about that. At a time when London had maybe 50,000. It was almost certainly the largest city complex in the world before the Industrial Revolution.
The engineering needed just to support that population, the water management. It's staggering.
And the temples themselves show this incredible precision. Take Angkor Wat, the main temple. Its central hallways align perfectly with north, south, east, and west, and that huge moat surrounding it.
How wide did you say it was?
200 meters wide, and it was all dug by hand centuries ago. It wasn't just for defense, it was part of this massive, intricate water management system that supported the city.
Okay, and the building materials. I read about this, and it still blows my mind. The sandstone blocks they used, weighing over a ton each, they came from quarries 40 or 45 miles away. How on earth did they move them?
Right, 40, 45 miles. That's the genius part. They didn't just drag them overland. The Khmer were masters of water engineering.
So they used canals.
Exactly. They built this elaborate network of man-made canals stretching all the way from the quarries at Phanakulan down towards the temple sites.
So they floated the stones?
Pretty much. They loaded the massive sandstone blocks onto bamboo rafts and then used teams of workers, and probably elephants too, to pull these rafts along the canals. The water drastically reduced the friction.
Wow. That's incredible logistics.
It really is. It shows this amazing understanding of hydraulics and massive organizational skill. It wasn't just about carving beautiful temples, it was about the infrastructure to make it possible. Truly mind-bending ancient engineering.
Okay, so if you're going, the classic thing everyone wants to do is see the sunrise at Angkor Wat. But the sources definitely warned about crowds. How should people approach that?
Yeah, you absolutely have to manage expectations. Go expecting crowds. Don't go expecting a solitary spiritual moment, because that's unlikely.
But it's still worth it.
Oh, definitely. Seeing those iconic 5 towers silhouetted against the dawn sky is still magical, even with hundreds, sometimes thousands, of other people around. The key is just being prepared.
Like getting tickets sorted beforehand.
Yes. That was a top tip. Buy your Angkor Pass online before you go. It's currently $37 for a one-day pass.
And buying online saves time.
Massively. It means you skip the huge queue at the physical ticket office, especially in the pre-dawn rush. You can just go straight to the entrance gate, show the QR code on your phone, and get in much quicker. Crucial for bagging a decent sunrise spot.
Good practical advice. Okay, beyond the main Angkor Wat temple, there's another temple that always seems to come up as a favorite. Te Prom. The Jungle Temple.
Yeah.
Why does that one resonate so much?
Ta Prohm is famous partly because it was featured in the Tomb Raider movie.
Ah, right.
But its real appeal is that it offers a completely different feeling to the main, more restored temples like Angkor Wat. The key thing about Ta Prohm is that it's been largely left to nature.
So it looks like it's being swallowed by the jungle.
Exactly. Huge ancient tree roots, strangler figs, and silk cotton trees are growing over, under, and right through the stone structures. It looks incredible.
Sound amazing. Very atmospheric.
It really is. It gives you this powerful sense of discovery, almost like you've stumbled upon lost ruins deep in the jungle yourself. It feels much more wild and, well, ancient.
And there was a tip about avoiding the crowds there, too.
Yeah.
Something about the route you take.
Yes, a smart tactic mentioned was visiting Ta Prohm after the main sunrise rush at Angkor Wat, but before the big tour groups get there.
How does that work timing-wise?
If you watch the sunrise at Angkor Wat, instead of immediately rushing to Ta Prohm like many do, maybe explore Angkor Wat a bit more first, then head to Ta Prohm around, say, 7:30 a.m. The idea is to go slightly against the main flow.
Ah, the anti-clockwise route.
Exactly. By doing that, you might arrive at Ta Prohm before the big clockwise tours hit it, giving you maybe an hour or so when it's relatively quiet and you can really soak up that atmosphere. That timing seems like gold dust.
Definitely worth trying.
Okay.
Beyond Angkor Wat and Ta Prohm, what other key sites are near Siem Reap that maybe get less attention but are still worth seeing?
Well, there's Phongolin National Park. It's considered a really sacred place, like the birthplace of the actual Khmer Empire back in the 9th century.
Who's there?
You can find some very early temple ruins. There's a huge reclining Buddha carved right into the rock on top of the hill, and some beautiful waterfalls where people swim. It's a mix of nature and spirituality.
Sounds like a nice contrast. And those floating villages you mentioned earlier. On the Tonle Sap Lake?
Yes, the Tonle Sap floating villages. Visiting them is a really eye-opening experience. It ties back to that incredible lake system we talked about.
Right, the lake that expands and shrinks massively.
Exactly. And these communities live in houses built on towering stilts, sometimes 10 meters high, to cope with the huge rise in water levels during the wet season. Some villages even literally float and move location depending on the water level.
Wow. So you see a whole way of life adapted to the water.
Precisely. Fishing communities, schools, shops, all on the water. It's a fascinating glimpse into human adaptation and resilience, a
Yes.
very powerful sight.
And finally, not too far away is Battambang, which we touched on earlier. What were the key things there again?
Battambang has its own historical weight, particularly with the Killing Caves, which is another Khmer Rouge-related site, quite harrowing. But on a lighter note, you have the Bat Caves at sunset, where literally millions of bats stream out.
Millions!
Apparently so. It's quite a spectacle. And then there's the completely unique bamboo train.
Yes, tell us about that.
It's basically locals using abandoned railway lines. They've built these small, flat bamboo platforms powered by little motorbike engines, and they zip along the old tracks. It's a totally improvised, very Cambodian transport system. Looks like great fun.
Okay, we've done the history, the incredible ancient architecture.
Yeah.
But Cambodia's not just temples, right? Let's talk about the other side, the nature, the coast, the islands down south. It seems like a mistake to only do Angkor Wat.
Oh, absolutely. You'd be missing a huge part of the experience. The South offers a completely different pace and vibe.
Starting with Camp Ho. We mentioned it briefly. It's not a big city, is it? More relaxed.
Yeah, Camp Ho is this really charming town right on a river. It's known for being super laid back, has some lovely old French colonial buildings still standing. It's the perfect place to just slow down, unwind, maybe cycle around.
What do people actually do in Camp Ho? What are the main activities?
It's very focused on the local landscape and produce. Camp Ho is famous for its pepper, considered some of the best in the world.
Right, Camp Ho, pepper.
Exactly. So you can visit pepper plantations, see how it's grown. Also salt farms nearby where they evaporate seawater in big salt pans. Plus, you can go kayaking on the river, eat amazing fresh seafood, and explore Bokor National Park up in the hills nearby.
Bokor has those old abandoned French buildings, right? Looks quite atmospheric.
Yeah, an old hill station with misty ruins. Very cool, and a bit cooler in temperature too.
And we said earlier, Camp Ho is one place where renting that motorbike makes sense.
Definitely. The traffic is calm, the roads around the farms are easy to navigate. For $8 a day, having your own wheels there really opens things up and lets you explore at your own pace. Well worth it.
Okay, now what if someone wants to get really off the beaten track, escape that main tourist loop entirely? Any recommendations from the sources for more remote areas?
Yeah, two main areas were highlighted for that. First, up in the northeast, there's a province called Ratanakiri.
What's that like?
It's remote, known for its really lush jungle, waterfalls, volcanic lakes, and opportunities to visit villages belonging to various ethnic minority groups, often called hill tribes. Great for ecotourism if you're adventurous.
And I remember reading something interesting about the houses there, the traditional ones.
Yes, the traditional houses are often built on high stilts, which isn't unique in itself, but the reasons given were interesting. It's partly for airflow, but also specifically to create shaded space underneath for hammocks for relaxing during the heat of the day.
Practical.
Yeah, and the living space is kept cool and dry upstairs. It just shows this really deep adaptation to the jungle environment and climate over generations.
Fascinating. And the second remote option sounded like one for wildlife lovers.
That would be Kratie, over in eastern Cambodia, located right on the Mekong River. It's a much quieter town.
And its main claim to fame is?
It's one of the last places on Earth where you can see the endangered Irrawaddy dolphins.
Yeah.
They're actually Mekong River dolphins, a freshwater species.
Oh, wow. Can you actually see them easily?
Sightings aren't guaranteed, obviously, but Kratie is considered one of the best spots. You can take boat trips or even kayak tours out onto the Mekong, usually with local guides focused on conservation, to try and spot them.
That sounds like a really special wildlife encounter.
Yeah, much more low-key and natural than some big operations elsewhere. A real highlight for animal lovers.
Okay, finally, let's head to the coast. The islands, often called the Maldives of Cambodia. Is that accurate? Koh Rong and Koh Rong Samloem.
Huh. Well, the Maldives comparison might be stretching the infrastructure level a bit.
Okay, maybe just the beach quality then.
The beach quality, yes. The sand is white, the water is turquoise. They are genuinely stunning tropical islands. You reach them via ferries from Sihanoukville.
And there are two main islands, Koh Rong and Koh Rong Samloem. What's the difference?
Koh Rong is the bigger one. It's got more accommodation options, a bit more going on, but still very much focused on relaxation. Beautiful beaches like Longset Beach are there.
And the infrastructure on Koh Rong. Still basic.
Yeah, still pretty basic. Development is limited, which is good for preserving the vibe, but it means roads can be hit or miss was the term used, often just bumpy dirt tracks.
Which is why renting a scooter there might be useful, as we said.
Exactly. Now, Koh Rong Samloem is the smaller sister island.
And the vibe there is?
Even quieter, more secluded. If Koh Rong is relaxing, Koh Rong Samloem is about pure tranquility. Think really chilled out bungalow resorts on beaches like Sarasan Bay, which is the main arrival point, or even quieter spots like Sunset Beach or Lazy Beach.
So the whole island experience is about simplicity, really.
Totally. It's about switching off basic huts, maybe some simple beach bars, open-air restaurants. The focus is just sun, sand, sea, maybe reading a book in a hammock. Decompression central.
And there was one other magical thing people mentioned seeing at night.
Ah, yes. The bioluminescent plankton. On dark nights, if you go for a swim away from the lights, the movement in the water can make tiny plankton glow.
Like swimming through sparkles.
Exactly. People described it as totally surreal, like swimming in stars, a really memorable, almost otherworldly experience.
Sounds incredible. Now, just going back to the journey, getting to Koh Rong from Phnom Penh, someone mentioned it took 9 hours. Tuk-tuk, bus, ferry. That sounds like a long day. Was it actually worth it?
That's a fair point. 9 hours is significant. But the key thing the traveler noted was that although it was long, it felt seamless.
Meaning the connections worked well.
Precisely. The handoffs between the transport modes, the tuk-tuk pickup, getting onto the right bus, likely Giant Ibis again, connecting with the ferry in Sihanoukville was all apparently well organized.
So less stressful than it sounds.
Exactly. When the logistics work smoothly, even a long travel day feels less daunting. And let's be honest, when you finally step onto that powder white sand on Koh Rong, that 9-hour journey probably fades pretty quickly. You're trading a day of travel for what feels like proper, untouched paradise. Most felt it was absolutely worth the effort.
Okay, nearly there. Before we wrap up, we absolutely need to cover some crucial points on safety and, importantly, local etiquette to make sure your trip is respectful and trouble-free.
Yes, definitely. First up, general safety. The overwhelming feedback was that Cambodia is a safe country to travel in, but, common sense applies.
Like in any big city or tourist area.
Exactly. Basic precautions against petty theft, keep an eye on your belongings in crowded markets or on buses. But violent crime against tourists is rare.
And the overriding feeling about the locals.
This came through so strongly in all the sources. Travelers consistently described Cambodian people as some of the kindest, warmest, most genuinely welcoming people they'd ever encountered. That really shapes the whole experience.
That's lovely to hear. However, there were a couple of specific, quite serious health and safety warnings we need to flag up, particularly about animals.
Yes, this is really important. Stray dogs, you'll see them around. The advice is crystal clear. Do not approach them, try to pet them, or feed them.
And this isn't just about them being annoying. It's a health risk.
It's primarily a health risk. Rabies is still present in some stray dog populations in Cambodia. While most dogs won't bother you, some can be territorial or aggressive if they feel threatened. Just give them a wide berth. It's the sensible thing to do.
Okay, noted. And what about medical prep before you go? Any standard vaccinations recommended?
Obviously, always best to check with your own doctor or a travel clinic well in advance. But the common ones travelers mentioned getting were hepatitis A, typhoid, and ensuring their tetanus, diphtheria, and polio were up to date, often given as a combined DTP booster.
Right. Standard stuff for travel in the region.
Pretty much, yeah. Just sensible precautions.
Okay, finally, respect. Especially when visiting Angkor Wat and other temples. These are sacred sites. What's the key etiquette? The dress code.
This is super important and strictly enforced, especially at Angkor Wat itself. Shoulders and knees must be covered.
For both men and women.
Yes, for both. But they tend to be particularly strict about it with women. So no tank tops, no short shorts or short skirts inside the main temple complexes. Scarves or shawls are useful to carry for covering up.
And shoes.
You'll need to take your shoes off before entering certain specific areas within the temples, usually the central sanctuaries or shrines. Just follow what the locals are doing.
Makes sense. And there was one last, quite sensitive cultural point about personal appearance. Specifically, tattoos.
Yes, this is a really crucial one to be aware of. Having visible tattoos that depict the Buddha is considered highly disrespectful in Cambodia.
Even if it's meant respectfully from the wearer's perspective.
Even then. From a traditional Theravada Buddhist perspective, using the image of the Buddha purely for decoration, especially below the waist, is seen as sacrilegious. So if you have a Buddha tattoo, travelers strongly advise keeping it covered while you're visiting temples and probably just generally while you're in the country out of respect for local beliefs.
Okay, that's a really important cultural sensitivity to be aware of. Thanks for flagging that. Hashtag tag tag outro.
So wrapping all this up, what's the big picture from these sources? I think Cambodia presents this really profound, almost stark contrast for travelers, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does.
On one side, you have the undeniable weight of its recent history, that need to confront the difficult truths in Phnom Penh. But then, almost right alongside it, you have the absolutely breathtaking beauty and scale of places like Angkor Wat, built centuries ago, and then the sheer natural beauty of the coast and islands.
It's a lot to take in, but the thing that seemed to define the experience for everyone, more than the temples or beaches even, was the people.
Absolutely. That was the constant thread. The incredible kindness, the resilience, the optimism, especially among the younger generation. Despite everything the country has been through, it's deeply affecting.
So if you've been listening and thinking you want a destination that's, yes, maybe challenging in parts, but also incredibly rewarding, culturally deep, and offers that amazing mix of ancient history and tropical escape, well, maybe this is your sign.
Could well be. Book those flights.
Exactly.
And maybe, just as a final thought to leave people with, as you stand there, looking at something immense like Angkor Wat, knowing the history, knowing the effort that went into building it, and the effort needed now to preserve it, it's worth pondering, perhaps. How can we, as modern travelers visiting a country that's developing so fast, best support the ongoing conservation, the cultural preservation efforts? How can our tourism be a positive force for protecting these incredible places for the future?
That's a really important question.
Yeah.
Something to definitely think about as you plan and while you're there. Knowing your visit can contribute positively. That adds another layer, doesn't it?
It does.
Well, thanks for diving deep with us into Cambodia today. We really hope this is giving you the confidence, the practical tips, and maybe just the spark of curiosity to start planning your own adventure there.